It happened 4 years ago, in early September. At the time, I was living in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of New York City. It wasn't anything fancy, just a small 2-story apartment building, and I had the top floor to myself. My room faced the street, and I used to think of it as the safest place I'd ever lived. I had this routine: wake up at 5 a.m. every day. It was my way of staying disciplined, starting the day before the rest of the world. That early in the morning, everything outside was still dark, with just a hint of dawn in the sky. The first time I noticed him, I was half awake. I walked to the window like I always did, just to breathe in the morning air, and that's when I saw him. A man. He was standing directly across the street, still, silent, wearing a hood that covered most of his face. At first I thought he was just a random person walking early, maybe someone heading to work, but he wasn't walking. He was just staring. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I felt it. He was looking straight at me. It made me pause. My heart picked up a little, but I told myself it was nothing. Maybe he was waiting for someone. Maybe he wasn't even looking at me. But the next morning, he was there again. Same place, same time, same stillness. I tried to brush it off. Maybe he was just some early riser heading somewhere. But the next morning, he was there again. Same spot, same time, standing completely still, just watching. At first I told myself it was nothing. I didn't want to overthink it. But as the days passed, it became impossible to ignore. Every morning at 5 a.m., when I looked out that same window, he was standing right there, never moving, never saying a word, just staring. I couldn't make out his face. He always wore a dark hoodie pulled low, hiding most of his features. Streetlights barely lit that part of the road, and the early morning haze didn't help. But I felt his eyes, right on me. It started messing with my head. I stopped sleeping well. I even skipped my morning routine just to avoid the window. But curiosity always got the better of me. Each time he was there. One morning I couldn't take it anymore. I opened the window and shouted, "Hey, what do you want?" Nothing, no reaction. He just stood there, still as a statue, didn't flinch, didn't even look away. My chest tightened. It felt wrong, deeply wrong. But when daylight fully arrived around 7 a.m., he was always gone. I thought about calling the police, but what was I supposed to say? There's a man standing on the street looking at me. It felt ridiculous, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. By the 7th morning, I'd had enough. I hadn't slept well in days. Every night, I laid there dreading the moment I'd open the blinds at 5 a.m., afraid of seeing him again, but more afraid that one day, he might not just be standing outside. I told myself, this has to stop. So that morning, before the clock even hit 5, I was already up, fully dressed. I stood by the window in the dark, just waiting. And right on time, there he was, same place, still staring. My heart was racing, but I grabbed my phone, threw on my hoodie, and walked out of the apartment. I didn't really have a plan, I just knew I couldn't keep living in fear like that. I thought maybe I'd talk to him, or yell again. Maybe I'd finally get an answer. But when I stepped onto the street, he was gone. Completely. I looked up and down the road. No one. No footsteps. No movement. Like he had vanished into thin air. There was no alley nearby. Nowhere to hide quickly. It didn't make sense. I stood there for a while, frozen. The silence around me was louder than anything I'd ever felt. The street looked just like it always had, but it didn't feel the same anymore. That was the last time I saw him. I never figured out who he was, what he wanted, or even how he disappeared so fast. I didn't tell anyone. I just packed up and moved within the next 2 weeks. Found a place farther from the city, somewhere with no street-facing windows. Even now, 4 years later, I still wake up at 5 a.m. sometimes. And every time, I hesitate before looking outside, just in case he's back. My name's Megan, I'm 18, and I live in Chicago. This happened just last winter, around 7 or 8 months ago in December. I was in my first year of university, and every Thursday I had a class that ended really late, sometimes around 6 p.m. Since it got dark so early, by the time I was heading home, the sky was pitch black. The bus ride home wasn't long, maybe 30 minutes, but that time of night it was always nearly empty. Just a driver, a few scattered passengers, and me. I'd usually sit near the middle, headphones in, zoning out, looking through the window. But one Thursday I noticed something strange. At the stop right after mine, a man got on, mid-40s maybe, wearing a gray hoodie with the hood up. Nothing too weird. He just sat a few rows behind me, quiet, didn't speak. I didn't think much of it at first, but the next week, same thing, same stop, same man, same seat. I remember glancing over my shoulder and feeling this weird pressure in my chest. He wasn't doing anything, not directly, but it just felt off. You know when your instincts kick in and tell you something isn't right? That was the start of it. The following Thursdays were the same. Week after week he boarded at the same stop, always sitting just a few rows behind me, even when the bus was nearly empty. I started paying more attention. He never looked out the window, never checked his phone, just sat there, silent. I could hear him breathing sometimes, slow, heavy, and unsettling. At first I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe he just liked that seat. Maybe it was a coincidence. But my gut was telling me otherwise. I started getting anxious before class even ended, dreading the ride home. I'd take out one earbud just in case. I even tried switching seats once I moved all the way to the front. But when he got on, he just sat behind me again, a few rows back like always. That night, I got off the bus one stop early. I didn't have a plan. I just didn't want him to know where I lived. I walked faster than usual, constantly checking behind me. And sure enough, he got off too. He didn't say a word, didn't get close, just walked the same direction, always a bit behind me. I was terrified. My hands were shaking when I unlocked the front door. Once I got inside, I locked it and peeked through the blinds. He was gone. I didn't sleep much that night. The next morning I told my parents everything. I'd kept it to myself for weeks, hoping it was nothing. But after what happened, I couldn't stay quiet anymore. My dad was furious. My mom was scared but tried to stay calm. They asked if I wanted to take a break from classes until things settled down. I agreed. I skipped Friday, and with the weekend ahead, I had time to breathe. But Monday came fast. I didn't want to fall behind in my coursework, so I decided to go back. But this time, my dad offered to meet me after class and ride the bus home with me. I felt a little silly for needing that at 18, but honestly, I was relieved. That evening, I stepped onto the bus and saw my dad already sitting near the front. He smiled at me, and for the first time in weeks, I felt safe. We didn't talk much. I just stared out the window, tense and quiet, watching each stop pass. And then I saw him. He was standing at his usual stop, hands in his coat pockets, head slightly down. But when he saw me on the bus, not alone this time, something changed. He didn't get on. He just watched. The bus pulled away, and he was still there, staring as we drove off into the night. That was the last time I ever saw him. After that, my dad, or sometimes a close friend, would meet me after class. They made sure I was never alone on my ride home. And a couple of months later, my dad surprised me with something I never expected. An old, slightly beat-up used car. It wasn't much, but to me, it was freedom, safety, Since then, I haven't taken the bus again, and I've never seen that man since. But to this day, I still get nervous walking past bus stops after dark. Not because I think he's still out there, but because I'll never understand what he wanted, or how far he might have gone if I'd stayed alone just a little longer.